bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. My name is Todd David Goldfinger, and here are today's top headlines. Thank you for joining us. Federal prosecutors and defense attorneys offered starkly different explanations Friday for the fatal beating of an Illinois prison inmate 4 years ago in closing arguments before a jury began deliberating in the trial of two former correctional officers. Todd Scheffler, 53, of Mendon, and Alex Banta, 30, of Quincy, are charged with violating Larry Irvin's civil rights in the brutal 2018 beating at Western Illinois Correctional Center in Mount Sterling. Irvin, 65, died 5 weeks later, in quotes. They beat him up and then lied to cover it up, end quotes. Assistant U.S. Attorney Eugene Miller told the 8-man, 4-woman jury in his closing argument, in quotes. The case is really that straightforward, end quotes. Defense attorneys, however, blamed other guards, including a third former correctional officer, former Sergeant Willie Hedden, who pleaded guilty last year to violating Irvin's civil rights and testified for the government at the trial for Scheffler and Banta. Scheffler and Banta are charged with depriving Irvin of his civil rights, conspiracy to deprive civil rights, tampering with a witness, destruction or falsification of records, and intimidation or force against a witness. They face up to life in prison. Next news. Destructive fires in the U.S. Southwest have burned dozens of homes in northern Arizona and put numerous small villages in New Mexico in the path of danger. As wind-fueled flames chewed up wide swaths of tinder-dry forest and grassland, and plumes plumes of smoke filled the sky, in quotes. It's a very chaotic situation out there, end quotes. Stuart Turner, a fire behavior analyst, said during a briefing Friday night on the edge of the Santa Fe National Forest in New Mexico, in quotes. We've had extreme fire behavior all day, end quotes. Firefighters working to keep more homes from burning on the edge of a mountain town in northern Arizona were helped by some snow, scattered showers, and cooler temperatures early Friday. But the favorable weather did not last, and more gusts were expected to batter parts of Arizona and all of New Mexico through the weekend. According to National Interagency Fire Center, more than 1,600 firefighters were battling 6 blazes in New Mexico and 3 in Arizona that have consumed more than 100 square miles. That's 250 square kilometers of timber and brush. Next news. A man whose attorney said he fatally shot a Tulsa police sergeant and wounded another because he feared for his life during a traffic stop was convicted of murder Friday. A Tulsa County jury deliberated about 3 hours before convicting David Anthony Ware, 34, in the death of Sergeant Craig Johnson and wounding of Officer Arash Zarkishan. Ware faces a possible death sentence excuse me, when that phase of the trial begins Monday. In closing arguments, Ware's attorney, Kevin Adams, again showed jurors a still photograph taken from a police kicking Ware during the traffic stop early on June 29th, 2020. Adams argued that Ware feared for his life because the officers beat, kicked, pepper sprayed, and shot him with a stun gun. With those actions, police, in quotes, stop being a law enforcement officer and become a lawbreaker, end quotes, Adams told jurors. However, prosecutor Kevin Gray told jurors that Ware brought the violence on himself by refusing to comply with officers' instructions and resisting. Next news. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill on Friday to dissolve the private government Walt Disney World controls on its property in the state, punishing the entertainment giant for opposing a new law that critics call Don't Say Gay. The move is expected to have huge tax implications for Disney and further sour the relationship between the Republican-led government of Florida and a major political player whose theme parks have transformed Orlando, Florida, into one of the world's most popular tourist destinations. For DeSantis, the attack on Disney is the latest front in a culture war waged over policies involving race, gender, and the coronavirus. Battles he has harnessed to make himself one of the most popular Republicans in the country and a likely 2024 presidential candidate. The law would eliminate the Reedy Creek Improvement District, as the 55-year-old Disney government is known, as well as a handful of other similar districts by June 2023. The measure does allow for the districts to be reestablished, leaving an avenue to renegotiate the future of the deal that allows the company to provide services such as zoning, fire protection, utilities, and infrastructure. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's the continuation of today's top stories. Thanks for being with us. With a backdrop of flowering trees, it was a setting fit for the signing of a major environmental legislation. Even Seattle's notorious clouds parted as President Joe Biden stepped up to speak on Friday. But when he sat down at a small desk with the presidential seal that had been set up for the occasion, a new law to sign, just an executive order directing federal officials to keep better track of trees in national forests. The gap between the scale of the global warming crisis and the president's initiatives seemed wider than ever on Earth Day. Although last year's infrastructure legislation had some climate policies, such as building more charging stations for electric cars, many of Biden's most ambitious proposals remain stalled in Congress. Biden seemed eager to be signing something other than his executive order. In quotes, "My pen is ready," end quotes, Biden said in Seattle's Seward Park. In quotes, "Get some of these bills to my desk," end quotes. He criticized Republicans for opposing climate action and hinted at his frustration with Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, although he didn't mention them by name. Within the Democratic caucus, he said, in quotes, "There's only 2 senators who occasionally don't vote with me," end quotes. Next news. Former President Donald J. Trump's late endorsements in hyper-competitive Republican Senate primaries in Ohio and Pennsylvania have unlocked a flood of support for his chosen candidates, including millions in cash. But the endorsements have also provoked backlash from some Republicans who believe Trump has betrayed his core supporters by backing what is called hillbilly elegy. Author J.D. Vance in Ohio and TV's Dr. Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania. Both candidates have been criticized for time spent outside their states and being insufficiently committed to the former president and his quote-unquote America First agenda. The blowback has included calls by a major conservative group aligned with Vance's rival to boycott the rally Trump is holding Saturday night to try to boost his candidate. The state's Tea Party movement, which overwhelmingly supports Trump, is also planning a protest outside of the rally. Next news. The United States unleashed some of its toughest actions against Russian President Vladimir Putin right after he rolled his troops into Ukraine. Polls in the U.S. find that people want Washington to do more. So what's left financially, diplomatically, and militarily to step up the pressure? Question mark. The U.S. could get strong results from any number of next steps. Economists and current and former U.S. officials say it could simply persist in pouring cash and potent weaponry into Ukraine, a likely course. It could even commit to shutting down some of the inroads the Kremlin has made into U.S. political and financial systems, also conceivable. But the mightiest trigger the West can pull now on Russia many experts agree, is one on the gas pump nozzle. Cutting off Russia's profits from oil and natural gas sales has become a main topic among world leaders, looking at what else they can do to force Putin to end his invasion. It would be very useful to try to devise a way to reduce proceeds from those sales, and that really is the proper objective, I think, of a ban. End quotes. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told a meeting of world finance leaders Thursday. Next news. Wayne Shaw seemed to have all the conservative credentials needed to win re-election to his state Senate seat in Oklahoma 2 years ago. The mild-mannered pastor with deep ties to the community had a solidly conservative voting record during his 8 years in office. But when Shaw, as chair of the Senate Public Safety Committee, declined to hear a bill to allow people to carry guns into bars, he drew the ire of an unemployed truck driver who was passionate about gun rights. The angry gun advocate, Don Spencer, belonged to a local pro-firearms group. In short order, he and his friends recruited a Republican challenger for Shaw, held a fundraiser in his district, and helped defeat the incumbent in the primary. In quotes, "I'm not opposed to guns," end quotes, said Shaw, who was stunned by the development. In quotes. But that, guns and bars, is a good way of throwing gasoline on a fire. End quotes. Spencer's feat is an example of a phenomenon in red states where the Republican Party is moving farther and farther to the right. The most potent political forces aren't always the long-established organizations that have groomed candidates and advanced legislation for decades. In the current climate, little-known outsiders, even without pedigree or money, in the little power grow quickly if connected to incendiary issues like guns or abortion. And almost any office holder can become vulnerable. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's the continuation of today's top stories. Thank you for being with us. Russia and Ukraine hurtle toward what could be an epic battle for control of the country's industrial heartland, as Ukrainian officials reported that Moscow had shifted a dozen crack military units from the shattered port of Mariupol to eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia reported Friday that one serviceman was killed and 27 others were left missing after the fire on board the warship Moskva, which sank a week ago following what the Ukrainians boasted was a missile attack. The Russian military previously reported everyone aboard had been rescued. Also, Friday, new satellite images showed a second possible mass grave site in a town near Mariupol, where Ukrainian defenders are holed up in a steel plant. The Russian Defense Ministry did not acknowledge an attack on the warship. It continued to say a fire broke out after ammunition detonated, without explaining how that happened. The loss of the guided missile cruiser, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, was a humiliating setback for Moscow. Next news. Russian authorities have opened a criminal case against a prominent opposition activist and remanded him in a pretrial detention Friday for allegedly spreading, in quotes, false information about the country's armed forces. A court in Moscow ordered Vladimir Kara-Murza Jr. held in detention until June 12th. Lawyer Vadim Prokhorov told reporters that the false information case against Kara-Murza cited a March 15th speech to the Arizona House of Representatives in which he denounced the war in Ukraine as the basis for the latest charges. The activist rejects the accusations. Russian media reported that similar charges were being drawn up against outspoken tech executive Ilya Krasilchik, the former publisher of Russia's top independent news site, Meduza. The moves against the two Kremlin critics are part of a widening crackdown against individuals speaking out against Russia's war in Ukraine. Russia adopted a law criminalizing spreading false information about its military shortly after its troops rolled into Ukraine in late February. The offense is punishable by or up to 15 years in a Russian prison. Human rights advocates so far have counted 32 cases targeting critics of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Next news. The Ukrainian military's general staff says that Russian forces continue their offensive operations in eastern Ukraine with the goal of defeating Ukrainian forces, establishing full control over the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, and securing, in quotes, a land route between these territories and the occupied Crimea, end quotes. Ukrainian forces in the past 24 hours repelled 8 Russian attacks in the two regions, destroying 9 tanks, 18 armored units, and 13 vehicles, a tanker, and 3 artillery systems. The General Staff said on its Facebook page on Saturday morning. Russian forces continue to partially block and shell Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, and are active in the area of Izium, the update said. In the strategic port city of Mariupol, Russian troops, in quotes, continue to blockade, end quotes, Ukrainian units in the area of the Azovstal steelworks, the last remaining stronghold, and, in quotes, launch airstrikes on the city, include with the use of long-range aircraft, end quotes, the Post said, adding that an engineering unit arrived in Mariupol in order to demine the port infrastructure. Next news. A Taliban official says a bombing at a mosque and religious school in northern Afghanistan on Friday killed at least 33 people, including students of a religious school. Zabihullah Mujahid, the Taliban's deputy culture and information minister, said bombing in the town of Imam Sahib in Kunduz province also wounded another 43 people, many of them students. No one immediately claimed responsibility, but Afghanistan's Islamic State affiliate on Friday claimed the series of bombings that happened a day earlier, the worst of which was an attack on a Shiite mosque in northern Mazar-e-Sharif that killed at least 12 Shiite Muslim worshippers and wounded scores more. Earlier, the Kunduz provincial police spokesperson put the death toll at the Malawi Bashir Ahmad Mosque and Madrasa compound in Imam Sahib at 2 dead and 6 injured. Mujahid later tweeted the higher casualty numbers, saying, in quotes, "We condemn this crime and we express our deepest condolences to the victims." End quotes. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's the continuation of today's top stories. Thank you for being with us. A smaller portion of U.S. children got routine vaccinations required for kindergarten during the pandemic. Government researchers said Thursday, raising concerns that measles and other preventable diseases could increase. Rates were close to 94% for measles, whooping cough, and chickenpox vaccinations for the 2020-2021 school year. That was down 1% from a year earlier and means 35,000 U.S. children entered kindergarten without evidence that they were vaccinated for extremely contagious diseases. The Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said in a report. In addition, almost 400,000 fewer children than expected entered kindergarten, and their vaccination status is uncertain, the CDC said. Pandemic-related disruptions likely contribute to the decline, the report said, as pediatricians canceled non-emergency appointments, parents skipped checkups for their children, and vaccine requirements were eased for students doing remote learning. Next news. Airlines say they are offering options, including refunds in some cases, for people worried about flying now that other passengers aren't required to wear face masks. However, the airlines aren't providing many details. Customers could find themselves at the mercy of workers at airline customer service centers. Many people who will be flying in the next few weeks bought their tickets before a federal judge in Florida on Monday struck down the requirement to wear a mask in airports and during flights. That requirement, designed to limit the spread of COVID-19, was due to expire anyway on May 3rd. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said his airline will be flexible with people who have a weak immune system or are concerned about mask optional flying for any other reason. Next news. The last time Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014, outraged world leaders booted Russia out of the group of 8 industrialized nations, which quickly rebranded itself to the group of 7. 8 years later, the G7 is still holding at 7, a collection of countries that meet to talk through big issues like trade, economics, and security. This past week, as global leaders gathered in Washington for spring meetings involving officials from the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, G7, and the larger group of 20. It quickly became apparent that despite Russia's ongoing assault and atrocities in Ukraine, its membership in the G20 remains firmly intact. While Russia has been rendered a pariah country by Western states, it will remain part of the G20 and associated organizations unless member countries achieve a consensus that it should go. That appears less and less likely as several countries, including China, Brazil, and even South Africa, have made clear they will support Russia's membership in the G20, which represents industrial and emerging market countries. Oh boy. Good luck with that. Next news. Japan and Russia have reached an agreement over Tokyo's annual catch quota for Russian-born salmon and trout. The Japanese Fisheries Agency said Saturday, despite delays and chilled relations between the two sides amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The agreement on Japan's quota for the popular fish in waters near disputed islands north of Hokkaido is a relief for Japanese fishermen who are worried about the prospects amid worsening ties between the two governments, Japan and Russia. Concluded talks Friday, setting a catch quota of 2,050 tons for salmon and trout this year in Japan's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. The Fisheries Agency said in a statement, the quota is unchanged from last year, and Japan will pay 200 to 300 million yen, that's 1.56 to $2.34 million in fees, depending on the actual catch, to Russia. The deal will be formally signed Monday, the agency said. The payment for the fish of Russian origin is stipulated under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This has been the daily global news update of Millennium News TV 24/7. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Todd. Please log in to get the latest news on all of our social networking sites. That means Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. On TikTok, we are Millennium News 24. Also, our YouTube channel. Got to check it out, please. News channel M24. Viewers, now on both network broadcasting, Android, and iOS devices. Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV. Also, all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and our latest news, views, editorials, current events. Our Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA Android, Millennium News Google, also www.millenniumnews24.com. Please stay with Millennium News 24/7. Thank you and God bless everyone.